It is 3 p.m. Friday here in Seoul. Hello and welcome to Arirang News. I'm Noaram. Thank you as always for tuning in. Our top story this afternoon, South Korea's central bank has bought around $1.2 billion of government bonds in order to stabilize the local bond market. It was a one-off purchase, not quantitative easing, which happens over a period of time. The purchasing of government bonds with maturities of 3, 5 and 10 years was made earlier today. This is the first time in more than 3 years that the BOK has directly bought government bonds. South Korea's benchmark Kospi has recovered some of the losses from Thursday when it dropped below the 1,500 mark for the first time since 2009. The Kospi was up about 5% at 1,534 as of 2:30 p.m. Korea time. The tech-heavy Kosdaq was up nearly 7% at 457. A sidecar was activated on the Kospi Futures Index to halt trading for 5 minutes after the index gained more than 5%. And later, trading was also suspended for 5 minutes on the secondary Kosdaq after it saw large gains. Wall Street, meanwhile, closed with some welcome gains on Thursday. The Dow Jones added nearly 200 points to close at 22,087. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq rose 0.5% and over 2% respectively. South Korea and the United States have signed a $60 billion currency swap agreement, hoping it will buffer local markets from the worst effects of the coronavirus outbreak. The Bank of Korea says the deal will be in effect for at least 6 months. Kim Yo-sun has reports.
The central banks of Seoul and Washington have put pen to paper on a $60 billion bilateral currency swap agreement, a move expected to relieve a cash crunch caused by the rapid spread of the coronavirus. The Bank of Korea plans to immediately supply the U.S. banknotes it secures via the agreement. It also explained on Thursday that the move is expected to stabilize the local foreign exchange market that has been experiencing a rapid change in the exchange rate due to a recent shortage of dollars. The Korean won fell by 41 to close at 1,285.71 against the U.S. greenback on Thursday. This was the lowest seen in over a decade as investors rushed to the hard currency, deemed as a safer asset.
The agreement will greatly help the financial market by stabilizing the recent rapid changes in the exchange rate between the U.S. dollar and Korean won.
This marks the second deal of its kind to be signed with the U.S., with the first $30 billion deal signed in October 2008 at the height of the global financial crisis. Back then, the agreement was originally set to expire after 6 months, but was extended twice until February 2010. Seoul currently has currency swap lines with 8 countries, including Australia, Canada, and China. Kim Yo-sun, Arirang News.
Now, the U.S. is planning on a massive stimulus package to lessen the economic impact of the coronavirus outbreak in the country. In a Fox Business Network interview on Thursday, U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin explained the Trump administration's $1 trillion package to send checks to Americans. The plan would give every adult American a $1,000 check and $500 for each child. Mnuchin also said $300 billion would be allocated for small businesses. Seoul's Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa has stressed the importance of working with China and Japan to minimize the social and economic fallout from the coronavirus outbreak. She was speaking during a video conference with her Chinese and Japanese counterparts, where they shared their current situations and experience of combating the virus. Kang stressed it's crucial for the 3 countries to not only block further spread, but to maintain civic exchanges and minimize socio-economic shocks. She added the 3 sides would further strengthen cooperation to fight the virus in the region as well as around the world. South Korea has reported another death from COVID-19, bringing the domestic death toll to at least 95. An 83-year-old woman who had underlying conditions, including diabetes and high blood pressure, died at a hospital in Gyeongsang-Buk-do province earlier today. The total number of COVID-19 cases is now over 8,600, with 87 new cases as of the stroke of midnight. The daily increase dropped back below the 100 mark after surpassing the figure the previous day. Of the new cases, 34 were in the worst affected city of Daegu, while 13 were in the surrounding Gyeongsang-Buk-do province. Seoul reported 17 new cases, Incheon had 4, and Gyeonggi-do province reported 14 new infections. The United States and China are in a race to say they've developed the world's first COVID-19 vaccine. This comes as President Donald Trump revealed the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is closing in on a treatment. On its part, China has given the green light for human clinical trials of a potential vaccine. Now, Lee Seung-jae reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump signaled yet another tough stance on the country's fight against COVID-19 on Thursday, as he declared war on the deadly virus. Saying America's big war is not a financial war, but a medical war. He announced that an existing drug prescribed for malaria and some forms of acute arthritis was among a range of drugs being tested for treating COVID-19 and could be available to the public. While the FDA chief said later it was too early to say when it would be available, Trump's declaration of war against COVID-19 signaled the start of the race between the U.S. and China to find a vaccine. Earlier this week, China gave the go-ahead for researchers to begin human testing of an experimental COVID-19 vaccine. Researchers at China's Academy of Military Medical Science received approval to launch early-stage clinical trials of the potential vaccine. According to the Chinese Clinical Trial Registration Database, researchers will enter a Phase 1 test, which will examine whether the experimental shot is safe for humans, as they plan to recruit 108 health experts to take part from March to December. Meanwhile, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced that COVID-19 can be serious for young adults, signaling that the virus can affect people of all ages. Latest data from the CDC show that among the roughly 12% of COVID-19 cases in the U.S. known to require hospitalization, about 1 in 5 were those aged 20 to 44. Health officials added older adults and people with underlying medical conditions still face a higher risk of complications. The World Health Organization says it does not expect any fully tested or approved vaccine to be available to the public until the mid-2021. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Turning elsewhere now, and London is shutting some of its subway stations to stem the fast-spreading virus in the city. Transport for London says up to 40 stations on the London Underground network that have no interchange will close from Thursday. Urging the public to avoid using public transport, the governing body said buses are also expected to be severely disrupted. And until further notice, night train services that normally run on Friday and Saturday nights are also being suspended. France's Cannes Film Festival has been postponed for the first time in its history due to the COVID-19 pandemic. According to a statement from the festival on Thursday, the event cannot be held on the scheduled dates in May. Organisers are considering moving the festival to the end of June or the beginning of July, depending on the French and international health situation. Paris has ordered the closure of all restaurants, cafes and cinemas in the country to increase social distancing, and the president has asked people to stay at home except for necessary trips. And as COVID-19 continues to spread in South Korea and in other countries around the world, copper is coming under the spotlight as a material that can potentially kill the virus. As a result, products are hitting shelves that are made with or contain the metal. Now, Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
This protective face mask looks different to the typical white ones we see attached to people's faces as they walk the streets in South Korea. Special fiber combined with copper and iron covers the mask surface, making it suitable to protect wearers against certain viruses. According to Jeonbuk National University and the company that invented this blue mask, 99.8% of a virus died within 1 minute of coming into contact with the mask and had disappeared within 10 minutes.
We figure out how fast the virus dies with this fabric, and we prove it can survive past 60 seconds.
Another face mask made with string coated with copper has gone viral, and sales have skyrocketed in South Korea. Protective film made with copper that can cover elevator buttons and air purifiers with copper filters are also popular. To see whether copper products are really reliable virus killers, the U.S. National Institutes of Health compared copper with other materials such as plastic and stainless steel. It found COVID-19 survived for 72 hours on plastic and 48 hours on stainless steel. However, it was dead after just 4 hours on copper.
Copper is reportedly effective in killing around 20 types of virus and theoretically effective in killing all viruses.
Experts say copper itself is effective in killing viruses and bacteria. Yet, watchers say consumers need to see how effective each product made with copper is before they use them to protect themselves. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Now, with less than a month until the April 15th general elections in South Korea, the National Election Commission has unveiled measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 on election day. The commission says all eligible voters must wear protective face masks and their temperatures will be checked one by one before they enter the polling station. They should also keep a 1 meter distance from each other as they wait in line. People assisting voters must also wear face masks and sanitary gloves. Objects that voters might have touched will be sterilized regularly and the polling stations will be well ventilated. The Commission also said voters in quarantine for COVID-19 can register to vote at hospital or at home. Now, with South Korea having postponed the new school year, the government will be giving money to parents who have to stay home and use their family care leave. The Labour Ministry says from the start of applications on Monday until yesterday, more than 13,000 people have applied. As a temporary measure, working parents can get around $40 a day for up to 5 days. This applies to working parents with children under the age of 8 or disabled children under the age of 18. Now, log into social media these days and you can't avoid viral videos of people in various countries panic buying goods due to their concerns over the coronavirus pandemic. However, even with the relatively high numbers of confirmed cases in South Korea, people in the country are staying calm and supermarket shelves remain well stocked. Now, Choi Jung-yoon takes a closer look at why South Korea has avoided falling foul of panic buying and hoarding.
Shelves in Russian supermarkets are left bare. Checkout lines stretch around the corner in Malaysia. In the wake of the burgeoning coronavirus outbreak, shoppers worldwide have been bulk buying daily necessities to prepare for potentially months of self-isolation.
Things in South Korea seem quite normal in comparison. Supermarket shelves are full of food and other supplies with no signs of any panic buying.
When the government declared the highest alert level last month, people seemed to buy more supplies like rice and water than usual. But that was it. South Korea hasn't experienced panic buying like other countries.
Panic buying comes from fears that the supply of necessities will be cut due to a halt in daily lives.
This chaos comes from people's fear that they'll be left out and exposed to danger if they don't follow others. Social media showing aggressive videos and posts of panic buying made the problem worse.
South Korea, with fast information sharing and a sense of trust in the system, managed to dodge such confusion and panic.
For many years, consumers have learned that the production facilities and distribution industry can respond swiftly to shortage problems. In the COVID-19 crisis, the government informed the public transparently and provided a top medical and testing system. Without the unnecessary spread of fear, Koreans could maintain calm.
The expert added the diversity of places to buy essentials is another factor. Korean neighborhoods have convenience stores every 100 meters as well as local supermarkets. And its food delivery culture makes social distancing relatively easy.
E-commerce platforms are settled in the country, so consumers can get what they need quickly and without difficulty.
Experts warn that panic buying can lead to some groups like the elderly finding it difficult to buy essentials, and say people shouldn't get swept away in the panic based on what they see online. Choi Jung-yoon, Arirang News.
Okay, that is all the news that we have for you at this hour. Join us again at 5 p.m. for more Arirang news. Until then, goodbye.